This podcast isn't about having all the answers. It's about walking through different ideas together, asking questions, and seeing where our minds take us. Inventions and breakthroughs often begin when someone is willing to look beyond what is already known and explore possibilities others may have overlooked. We may not always reach the same conclusions, and that's really the point. So let's open our minds, step into the unknown, and see what we can find. All right. So today, I would like to explore, not necessarily as if it's real, but explore it mentally, walk through some things that I guess could be possibilities, and some things that I've noticed as of recently. Let's just put in perspective, it is July 29th of 2026. So, something that me and actually one of my coworkers today were kind of like bouncing off and kind of like asking questions and just kind of like exploring that I thought was super interesting was talks of the CERN Large Hadron Collider, the particle accelerator, and I believe I don't. Where is it exactly? Um, One moment, please. The location. It is. Uh, it is located near Geneva, Switzerland, on the border with France. Okay. So, it basically operates in a 27-kilometer or 17-mile circular tunnel situated 50 to 175 meters underground, or 164 to 574 feet underground. For all my Americans using freedom units. uh, so let's get into some of the little things that I've at least that I just want to talk about, I guess. So, first, this accelerator was first turned on in September 10th of 2008. It ran for, I believe, 9 days, and on September 19th, it had there was something that happened with some magnets. I believe it was let me look real quick. It was a faulty electrical connection caused a major helium leak and damaged dozens of the superconducting magnets. So then they had to shut it down and they had to repair it. It was off from September 19th, 2008 till November of 2009, where it got restarted successfully. Then it ran until, one moment, they had a long shutdown where I believe they had to like redo some stuff. It looks like consolidation of thousands of superconducting magnet connections, allowing the LHC, the Large Hadron Collider, to safely reach its design collision energy of 13 TeV, whichever, I'm not sure exactly what that is. Anyways, by the way, I am no expert in any of this. I am just a normal, average person that just enjoys exploring things mentally and kind of walking through things, asking questions, trying to understand what this world and universe all is and what it all has to offer. Because it seems there's much more that we don't know. In reality, we don't know really anything on how things work on, any of that stuff. Anyways, it then, so it was off February 14th of 2013, which is when they had to design the collision energy of 13 TeV. So it was off from 2013, and then it got restarted with beams in 2015. Then there was a second shutdown, and that was December 3rd, 2018, and then it got restarted April 22nd of 2022. And now it has now been shut down from June 29th of 2026, and it plans to restart June of 2030, so 4 years. Of course, that is if all goes well. And this time, this shutdown is to upgrade, is the largest upgrade in its history, converting it into a high luminosity, a large hadron collider, capable of producing up to 10 times more collisions than originally designed. So, now that we've kind of walked through what it is and exactly kind of everything, all that stuff, there has been many people, many posts, many people talking all over the place between normal Facebook stuff, just talking about their normal life stuff, or people on Reddit that is of course bringing up theories and conspiracies and all sorts of stuff, trying to connect dots. Which I believe that there's probably truth in at least some of it. Of course, it might not be fully truthful or it all be true, because people are going to go to extremes and go further than what it needs to be. But it is fun to at least explore. So, on that note, we're going to explore some of it. So yeah, mass amounts of people have been noticing exhaustion on a deeper level, that they feel like they are being drained of their life force, some people have said, since the shutdown, June of 2020, or June of 2026. And some people feeling like the world is snapping back to reality, that like things are slowing down, things are coming back into place, as they should. And then some people feeling like time itself has slowed down, that the last that would be the last 4 years has been flying by, and finally after they shut this down, it feels like time to slow down a little bit. And in my mind, so let's explore some of that stuff. So if people are feeling exhausted, feeling like time has slowed down, feeling like it's snapping back into reality, maybe the 4 years that it's been running now since the last shutdown, the last 4 years, it's been basically that your body hasn't been able to feel the full effect of like exhaustion, of tiredness, of all the work that you've been putting in, all these different things, that you're not able to notice it if all these okay, if particles are being accelerated, and that could have an effect on the entire world, on at least on Earth, then things are being sped up, time is being sped up, everything's being sped up to where you're not able to feel things that are happening right now because of how fast everything is moving. So when it gets turned off and things slow back down to normal, all of this tiredness and exhaustion and all this stuff just kind of hits you, where you get this deep exhaustion, this deep tiredness. And I feel like some people are going to be aware of it, some people are going to ask questions, but I feel like most people are going to just like notice, hey, I'm just tired now. I just want to sleep a little bit longer. I just want to rest a little bit more. That kind of thing. Something that popped into my mind when me and my coworker were actually talking about it was, if, I don't know why, but it popped in my mind, of quantum entanglement and of what that exactly is. So quantum entanglement is a fundamental phenomenon in quantum mechanics where two or more particles become interconnected, sharing a single unified quantum state, such as that the state of one particle instantly influences the state of the other, regardless of distance separating them. So you can have a particle that you have right in front of you that you can mess with, you can switch differently, and you could have the one that is entangled to or interconnected to be across on the complete opposite side of Earth, or even out in space. And even if you switch the one that's right in front of you, that other one far away will have the same thing happen to it as the one that you did right in front of you. So, with that, if one of the particles or multiple of the particles within the accelerator is entangled and interconnected, wouldn't that mean that the one that it's interconnected to on the outside also be sped up to almost light speed, which is what they get it to. And if you want to like really like zoom it out or really like think about it, of some people believe that like all electrons, that there's only like really one, and that the whole world is made up of one. Which would be very interesting. So if I haven't really deep dove into that whole theory or anything, because it kind of sounds kind of wild to me. But if true, it'd be pretty crazy. But if let's say if all protons are all one, and you have one in this accelerator, speeding it up to almost light speed, then all of these protons would be sped up to that speed, which then I would guess would change the way the time works, which would almost like change just space-time in general. Which it seems crazy, but at the same time I could see that also being a thing. So if you have all of those things going on at once, then of course when you turn it off, these protons, these particles within it slows down, and then everything that they're interconnected to would also slow back down to normal speed, to its more natural speed. So that would explain why, yeah, people's bodies are getting more tired, because they're not, these protons, these particles that are within us are now being slowed down to its more natural state. There's a couple things that people have talked about, of talking about how the particle accelerator, when it first got shut down way back, I want to say, or when it got turned on or whatever in 08, that there was supposedly like a stock market crash and some of that stuff, which I think some of that is coincidence on some of it, but also like we might not know the entire picture either. So I believe, if I remember correctly, there was, so the startup in 08, September of 08, there was when the whole thing got shut down in 29 or in 2008, September 19th, which supposedly this was I don't know much about stock market or any of that stuff, but there was that was only 4 days after the Lehman Brothers declared bankruptcy, and September 15th, and that was September 15th, when markets were already collapsing. And so I think it's a lot of it is coincidence, but if it's not, and some of these bigger companies, some of these bigger people for the stock market, for economy, for business, for tech, for all these different things. So if they're all involved in some of this stuff, and they knew about this particle accelerator and kind of knew what was going to happen, or maybe they didn't know and it took them by surprise. And so when they started it made people panic, and it made people like, this is much more than what they believed it was going to be. It's changing more than what they thought it would. And so then there's this panic, things start changing, they start trying to make big changes, they then declare for bankruptcy, and all this stuff starts going downhill, and it just butterfly effects out to all these different things. So then when they restart it in 2009, maybe they had that year or just over a year to really research and look at what happened the first time, so then they can maybe switch it back and like make it not as crazy. So then they kind of like had things prepared more for this next startup, which is why we haven't really maybe seen on these other startups that things have went crazy, things have crashed, things have, been insane. But that doesn't, I don't think there's anything that they can do of when they shut it down on what the effect that happens. Also, I believe in 2008, I want to say it was 2008, that a ton of like natural disasters and stuff happened, but I don't know exactly what time some of that was. Let me see I can look it up real quick. We will do this together because we are exploring this kind of on the cuff. We're not really. I did a little bit of some research beforehand, which was looking at some of the stock market stuff and seeing uh what was all happening. Okay. Let me look. Do. So September, but when in September, there was two hurricanes that hit the Caribbean and the Gulf Coast, and hit like Texas and some of that stuff. I want to say so. I here in Iowa, I know there's a bunch of stuff in '08, but I can't remember exactly the dates that it happened of crazy amounts of tornadoes, crazy floods, and then I think it was early 2009, still winter, that there was like an insane ice storm as well, which was like very odd compared to normal. Once again, most likely it's coincidence, most likely there's no connection at all. But it is fun to explore and just like ask questions, check it out, see if there's any connection, because like really we don't know. We can say that we know these things, we can say that we can confirm that there's nothing whatever. Um but there okay, so yeah, the major EF5 tornado in Iowa in May. And then there was widespread flooding in the Midwest during June and September, um, which is interesting. Any other fun stuff to look at here? But yeah, I believe it was 2009, the early 2009, that the ice storm hit as well. Anyways, this is just something that me and coworker were talking about a bunch at work today, just exploring, yeah, having a good time. Uh, Bouncing things off each other, kind of like seeing whatever. And I was kind of doing like little bits of like research, looking things up, just asking questions, whatever. But the thing that like really stood out to me was I've noticed it from many people in my life within since the shutdown that so many people have talked about just being exhausted, being tired, being drained. And I remember, I think it was the first week after they shut down. Because if they shut down exactly 1 month ago, that would have been on a one moment. That would have been on a Monday. The 29th of June being a Monday. I just remember heavily. I remember being at work, and I work a very physical job. And normally I'm like, I'm good. I've been there for almost 3 years. We are chilling, whatever. And I had this deep, like soulful urge to just sit down, that I was just so tired. And I believe it was that week. I don't think it was Monday. I want to say maybe it was like Tuesday and Wednesday of that week. I felt just so tired. Um and I didn't think anything of it right away, but then I think it was the week after that is when my coworker actually like mentioned something about the whole like particle accelerator, and he was joking around about it, about like, oh yeah, like some people are saying that it's because of this, like, oh, I'm only feeling this way because of this. And then now, like as of this week, we have like talked about it again. And like the more that time has gone on, the more that I've talked to more and more people about it. Not about the accelerator, but about like the tiredness, the drain, the exhaustion. And it has felt, it's becoming more real for me, that it feels less of a coincidence and more of a, oh, these things are connected somehow. And so that's what brought me to today, talking about it and kind of exploring it a little bit, just asking questions, seeing like what's going on in the world? Um, I wish I could find some of people's talking about these things. Let me see if I can find particle accelerator draining feeling. Let me see. Um, this was a theory. What is this? That was 4 years ago, so that's not it. That was from when they started it back up 4 years ago in 2022. This is okay, so this person said 6 days ago. Ever since it was shut down, I've been really anxious and I've had multiple anxiety slash panic attacks, and my self destructive behaviors are trying to resurface, and I'm currently fighting it. I've been highly sensitive to energies around me, and my mom is too, but I'm somehow stronger than her in this area. I've noticed a lot more violence happening where I live too, um, and the family is feeling it to a huge degree. Not the violence, but the energy shift. We have been more emotional, and my body has been weird. Like ever since it shut off, I felt broken. That's the best way I can explain it. Sorry. Like a puzzle piece is missing. The anxiety is killing me and is way worse at night. Meds don't even help me. Uh, do um and let me just quickly read through some of this stuff, see if anything pertains to it. I don't see some of this stuff. Um, this person says that experiencing a lot of brain fog and have been feeling extremely tired. Um, and and it says even while on the medications that they're on, then they stopped taking them because they made me feel too drowsy to function at work. Also lost my appetite and no longer want foods I used to love. On top of that, I've become much more emotional, and I'm now remembering details from my childhood that I had completely forgotten. And then somebody said that they have felt the exact same way. Um, that is in Spanish. I do not read Spanish. I know only a few words. Um, that is actually something that I have realized as well. Was the last month I have felt like so. Okay, here's a little bit of information about me. For the last, I'd say like 8 years, 8 years or so, maybe. Um, I have dealt with like emotional numbness, and uh, I've been working on it, especially the last like year or so. I've been really pushing for it, of trying to get these emotions to come back, to feel better, to be able to feel the emotions like stronger again. And um I don't know, as of the last month, like I'll be watching, like I'll be laying in bed and I'll randomly like watch a reel, or I'll watch, something, or certain music or whatever, and I feel like I am able to like cry or get teary-eyed like way easier um compared to before. And so I guess that kind of brings me to another theory that I just thought of, like right now, and that is, if what if when they turn on the accelerator, it like kind of like freezes everything in place. Like things are moving so fast that it kind of freezes things exactly how they were. So like your emotional states, your all these different things, to where it takes much longer to get these habits, these traumas, these things to change or get better or any of that stuff, because everything is moving so fast. So it kind of like freezes things in place, and it takes a lot to be able to change it. Now, uh, you can do a whole bunch of work while it's running on yourself, on these issues, on these things, and then when all of a sudden they turn it off, everything like speeds up really quick, and all the work that you've been putting in all of a sudden just happens like within an instant or within like a short amount of time. That all this stuff all of a sudden just comes to. That's something that I thought about. That I'm like, that'd be interesting, if that were real. And of course, there's no way of having evidence or showing proof that like really any of this stuff is true. All these theories, all these things. Unless maybe like a couple years or like a few years down the road, or maybe 4 years when they turn it back on, and it being like 10 times stronger. What's going to happen? Like, will we notice a change in 2030, in June 2030, when they turn it back on? Will there be something that we notice? This person though says, this week I received 3 messages from 3 different people out of nowhere, basically saying my mind feels heavy, my energy feels light, and some of that stuff. There's a whole bunch of stuff. Oh, and supposedly people talking about how this whole thing, that there's like a frequency change in Earth, as well. I don't know anything about that though. But if that's true, that would be very interesting. What else? Anything else that's sticking out to me? Yeah, people saying that they are struggling with sleep, that they feel like they aren't able to sleep as much, that there's a whole bunch of like sleep issues, disruption stuff going on as well since then. And then there's some people though that are getting the opposite of like that they're not getting this drained feeling, that they feel a little bit more energized, or that their depression or anxiety has actually lifted and not gotten worse. So I wonder if maybe like there could be something there, but it could be depending on the severity of depression or anxiety or the way that their body is, that it could do one or the other, and it could be opposites. Because of course we're all unique. It's like how some foods might not be good for you, but then to another person it's like a super food to them. Or a medication might mess you up, but to someone else it might even them out. So like there was an anxiety medicine that I tried. It messed me up bad, and it messed me up for like, I only took it for 3 days. It made me throw up, and then it messed me up for like 9 months. Versus someone else that I know took the exact same medication and it helped them even out. So it could be something like that. And it could be like those same types of people that this is the people that like those medications aren't good for, could make them feel a little bit more depressed, more drained, that kind of thing, versus the ones that the medication is actually helping, could make them feel back more normal, I guess, more even keel, less depression, less anxiety, that kind of thing. What else? I'm not seeing much else other than people just talking about not feeling well, and all this stuff. But I see a lot of hypersensitivity to a lot of things since then. Actually, I believe, I want to say it was my coworker that originally said it, that mentioned that since the accelerator was shut down, that right away started having dreams again. Like went from having only maybe a dream or two basically a year to having them every night, which is super interesting as well. And what is that? I haven't noticed a difference. I don't really dream a lot, and I still haven't been. It's pretty much been the same amount that I normally do. So nothing going on there. But I thought this would be a really fun thing to just explore, talk about. And who knows, maybe you guys feel certain ways or have noticed different things or, uh, you know, um, going through stuff as well or have talked to people as well that have gone through the same type of deal. This accelerator, though, is super interesting. And I was gonna maybe talk about some of the stock market stuff, but as I was looking into it more, the more there wasn't really stuff that stood out to me. The only thing that stood out to me was the fact of uh the theory of 2008 when they first turned it on that it crashed because it was um let me find the picture real quick that I have. So it literally shows that September 10th. So it was already kind of going down a little bit, like a few days before, but then it has a huge drop off, um, like instantly after. But that was because of the whole bankruptcy of Lehman Brothers and some other stuff where people started selling and doing all that stuff like in bulk, like crazy right after. Um, so that made a huge difference. But other than that, every other shutdown, every other startup, there really was nothing. There's really like no change. So that's where I was like, okay, there's nothing there. The first one was just coincidence, and because they both were within like a week of each other, uh, people like to theorize. On that note, though, that might be really about it. For this. Um, yeah. Anyways, I know this is very different from episode one. Um, very different, and we're gonna get back to my normal talking about my passages, talking about all sorts of different like writings and thoughts and just crazy like deep thought things that I normally do. I'm trying to figure out still of exactly what I want to talk about next. I have a few things that I might do. I'm kind of debating on if I want to kind of go. I kind of have like a layout for my book that I am thinking about doing, and I might test it out through podcast wise. So for like the I don't want to call it chapter one. I'm trying to find a name that I want to use for it. I don't really think chapter fits it well, but I have some passages that I wrote that are going to be basically a chapter one that they all kind of coincide and they all have kind of a connection there. And so I think I'm gonna go chapter by chapter and just have a podcast for each one, walking through some of it, and we might come back after doing chapter one or the intro or whatever, and come back to it later on to talk about it more or in a different way, or just like open it up to explore a second time around and see if anything else comes out. Because I think that's fun. It's fun to just ask questions, explore, think about these big picture, these things that on a normal day we don't get to think about because we're so busy in our day to day life of work and family and yard work and cleaning the house and who knows what of whatever you're doing. So a lot of times we don't get to really think about these things and ask questions and take it lightly. Like these things, even though if you let them, they could be very serious and they could drag you down. But if you go at it with a fun nature, with a fun perspective and an open mind, um, I think you can get a lot out of it. Even if there's nothing set in stone or serious or anything that's within, even just challenging your mind in those ways to just think about these things, open up possibilities, try to look at it from different perspectives, ask, okay, if this one thing were true, what would that change in these other areas? Uh, and I think that's the fun. Um, that is what I think humans are just really good at. And I think that's what else also pushes us as a species forward more than others is the fact that we ask questions, we search for answers, we look in areas, we look in the dark corners of the world that like maybe there's an answer over there, or let's just try this out and see what happens, see if this does anything. Uh, and that's the joys. That's we are so lucky to be alive in this day and age where we have information at our fingertips between AI, between any sort of searching, between any of this stuff. You can find information so quick and look things up and do all this stuff so easily now that you can walk down these roads that I've been walking down and think about these different things and do little bits of research here and there, or even just let your mind just run wild, write it down, talk about it, try to figure out like stress test some of it. It's we really are living in a wonderful time in the world, even though that there is a lot of if you focus on the bad, there's a lot of bad, but there's always been bad in the world. But because of all the information at our fingertips, we are able to see it much quicker, much more, uh, and it's kind of how society has shifted, is to kind of put all that in front of us and distract us and kind of keep us at each other. When in reality, we need to come together. We need to be just good people, and life and everything will just kind of work out. Things will be much better if we just come together. So, on that note, though, thanks again for listening. Thanks again for everything. I know this was an odd one, especially for a second episode. Very different than what I will normally be doing. But if it's on my mind and something is very interesting to me, I feel like that's what I'm going to do. I don't really plan on necessarily having a theme or anything to the full podcast. It's just going to be whatever's very interesting to me, whatever's on my mind, and something I can talk about. I'm gonna talk about it. So, thank you, and see you guys for the next episode.